gatto, Mr. Romanto.
Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da. Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, 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 geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to another all-new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Today we are joined by voice acting legend Michael Bell, talking all about his extraordinary career, getting into some of the roles he's performed both on and off camera. We'll talk with him throughout the hour, visit with him about his work, and more. Stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors, 4 Hogwarts houses, 1 ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And if you're driving around St. Louis right now, hearing this on 105.3 FM and 1380 AM, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're streaming us out there in the world, if we know many of you do, thank you for listening once again this week. And of course, if you're hearing this after the fact in the podcast form on whatever platform you get your podcasts from, thank you very much for finding, subscribing there. If you would leave us a nice 5-star review if you're getting us from iTunes, we always appreciate that. This show, this segment, this whole thing brought to you by Historic St. Charles, that website. I want you to go check out this website, discoverstcharles.com. That's where you can see all the fun things there are to see and do. If you're in the general St. Louis, St. Charles area, you probably already know about St. Charles. And if you haven't been there, you need to go because there's always something happening. Right now, it's a little bit wet. We've seen the waters from the Missouri kind of rise up and kind of start to encroach on Frontier Park, but that's all right. There's still a lot of other things to see and do out there. The website has some beautiful pictures they pull from different people's Instagrams. If you hashtag St. Charles or Historic St. Charles or Discover St. Charles. If you're a foodie, there's no better place. There's something that you can find for every taste bud out there. No matter what your palate likes. Even in the outlying areas, we always talk about all the fun things they already do on Main Street, but there's fast lane classic cars. If you're a car buff, you got to go check this place out. 3 warehouses full of classic vintage cars, a lot of cool automobile memorabilia. It's just a great place, the surrounding area, in addition to the downtown historic district. It's brilliant. You need to go check it out if you're from out of town. Find a place to stay, a bed and breakfast, a modern hotel with all the amenities. Come check it out. You'll be very, very glad you did. DiscoverStCharles.com. Without further ado, my guest is Michael Bell, and we need to get right to it. It would probably take me the whole hour just to rattle off his IMDb. We're joined by Michael Bell. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Just back from my convention over at Ontario, which was kind of cool.
Ontario, Canada, or Ontario, California?
No, California. Yeah, California. That was yesterday. I'm just waking up, so we're good.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, and we're talking to you now before we go to another con, which I'm very excited. I'll actually be able to meet you in person at GalaxyCon in Richmond.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the next one. Yeah.
So how many cons? I'm going to be there. I'm going to be broadcasting the radio show live, and I've already got some stuff standing by ready for you to sign. I'm excited to meet you.
Okay, cool. Good.
And how many cons a year do you end up doing?
I can do 4 or 5 at the most. It gets kind of hectic. So, I limit myself, as it were.
And you're stay busy. You're teaching too, which I think is fantastic. It's got to be very interesting teaching something you've worked at for so long. When you're teaching classes, tell us a little bit about how that process works. How many people do you have in a class? How often the classes go? What is all involved in teaching voiceover for you, the way you do it?
Well, I've been teaching for years. I've been teaching since the 80s, since I was working pretty heavily. I had my own theater out in the valley out here in Los Angeles. And I used that in the evenings, and I was teaching class then. I taught people like Lucy Taylor and Cam Clark and Neil Ross and Bob Bergen. These were early students of mine a number of years ago. And then after a while, I kind of stopped, and I had some private classes I was teaching. And then now I've been teaching for 11 years. I don't teach at a studio or any place anymore. I teach Japanese students, acting students. They come over from Osaka and Tokyo. I've been doing that for about 11 years, and I teach about 90 kids to 120 kids over a 2-month period.
And so, do you speak Japanese then, or is that something that they're already English speaking, or how does that work?
No, they're Japanese. They're Japanese, and I have an interpreter who's a fabulous interpreter. She's been doing it for 11 years. She's a stand-up comic, and she's Japanese American, and she's fabulous. And so it works well. I understand exactly what's going on. I teach a little bit of Japanese. I introduce myself, watashi wa sensei makoto, and itadakimasu, and everybody laughs. They get to know that I've got a sense of humor, so I get to play with them. When I need them to do more, I go mosto, and after they can do rest, and say skosh, things of that nature. Konnichiwa. I certainly can get around, but I would have a lot of trouble if I was held down and told to deliver information. I'd be in a lot of problems.
Which is, it's always a good thing to have the translator there then.
Yeah, it's always good to have a translator. If I was a spy, I'd need a translator. It's as simple as that.
And doing the voiceover work, like I said, I'm an 80s junkie. That's kind of when I grew up. And you, I'm sure you get all the time people coming up to you and saying, thank you for my childhood, because you voiced so many characters throughout all these different iterations and different cartoons and animated series and movies.
Everybody says, I grew up with you, and my answer is pretty patent. I say, you never grew up. They go, you're right. I didn't. You're absolutely right. I said, we don't grow up. We just grow old. But there's still that memory of those times coming home from school, and then Saturday mornings and watching shows. I get a lot of people that, interestingly enough, were latchkey kids. That folks were gone, and I and many of my other compadres were sources of entertainment for them, and to some degree raised them inadvertently in an odd way, because we were heroes, or I think in those days you knew who the bad guys were and who the good guys were. It's kind of hard to tell now.
Right. In more ways than one, in real life and in the animated world as well. We just had two of your compadres, as you said, Bill Ratner and Mary McDonald Lewis joined us, and Mary McDonald Lewis used the same exact word. We help raise a lot of latchkey kids. That's just the era, I guess.
It was that time. It was that time when it was, well, we always say innocent. I don't know how innocent it was, but it was innocent for us, at least as kids, to be able to watch those shows, and those of us that eventually got into voiceover. We were actors first, and then we got into voiceover. It's interesting because we play characters who we were enamored of when we were kids. I was a big fan of Plastic Man, and suddenly, years later, to get handed the role of Plastic Man for a cartoon, always that. What a leap! What a surreal leap that is.
And that was actually being one of the questions, because you've had these iconic characters. Some of them were brand new. You were the first iteration, like if we talk Prowl in Transformers or Duke in G.I. Joe. But then some of them, like Plastic Man, you also did, if you want to go to the Marvel side, you did Cyclops in Pride of the X-Men. When you do a role that's kind of been established, that people kind of know about a character already, do you do research ahead of time? Do the directors give you source material and say, look this over? Or how do you prepare for a role like Plastic Man or like Cyclops?
Well, Plastic Man, it was interesting. They wanted something. I think your people who listen to you are probably too young to know who Phil Silvers was. He's a great comic, wonderful comic. And they wanted a Phil Silvers kind of sound, and I couldn't do that. And I said, I just have to do what I do. So I thought, well, I'll try something clip and fast, and so I kind of did a Get Smart kind of thing, one of those feelings, whatever. And they said, oh, we like that. And they bought that. When it came to Riddler, I just had to look at the character, say I know what his voice is going to be. And when it came to Bleak the Blue Monkey, I thought, okay, yeah, I can do a monkey. I can imitate a monkey. It's how I teach. I teach plagiarize, don't shade your eyes. That's why God made your eyes, so plagiarize. So, there's so many characters that we were able to draw upon, all of us that are older, as it were. We drew upon the characters we'd seen in movies, like Peter Lorre and Boris Karloff and possibly later years might have been Jack Palance, characters, the bad guys, Rod Steiger. You would pick people and you would try those voices, and it worked for a lot of the characters.
We've also had Greg Berger was on. We talked about Transformers, and he said it was a great thing because voice work has changed, and a lot of times people now are just in a studio or in their home. They'll record their bits and they'll send it in, or they'll be in a studio by themselves. Back when you guys were doing Transformers, Greg likened it more to almost like a radio play. Like you guys are all in the room, and to work on a series like Transformers, you had Scatman Crothers, you had Peter Cullen, yourself, Greg Berger, all these great people there, Frank Welker. Do you prefer that kind of a setting, kind of the ensemble, or do you have grown accustomed or like better just the kind of the solo stuff, in and out, do your thing and be done?
I think we all like the ensemble. I mean, depending upon your work ability to work. I mean, if you've got from hour to hour, every 2 hours you got to get out of the studio to get someplace else. It's kind of like the old radio days. That's what the old radio stars used to tell us, that we worked with, like Olin Soule. He said he was running all the time. He did our Batman on Super Friends. And he said he was running all the time from studio to studio. We were doing that. And so, of course, at that time, we weren't doing it singularly. We were doing it as a group, so it was like a radio show. So if you were locked into a room for 8 hours, that was your day. You had to turn down other work. So you kind of hoped after a while when we went to war with studios and managed to whittle that down to 4 hours, you usually had the opportunity after that to get out and to do the other jobs. But it was so much fun working together because you got such good work. Look, a classic example, I did a series called Rugrats.
Yeah. And
when they had me read originally for Chippy's dad, Chaz, and they said, okay, I'd like you to read this. I looked at the character. I said, I think I have something in mind. I'd like to do that. Has the boy been cast yet? She said, well, we have a girl. She's been cast as Chippy. I said, do you have her sound? Do you have the tape? I said, yeah. And I said, would you play it? So they played it. She had this little nasal thing that she did, And I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have the dad do the same thing. He inherited the sound. Chucky inherited the sound from his father because they both have albergo problems. So I write up to that like kids. So when he spoke to me and I spoke to him, we had the same sound, like Father had said. And that is how that works. And when we worked together, it was great. I would never have known that if I worked just by myself and they had not already cast Chucky's role.
So they're just the way things have changed. I'm enamored with voice actors to begin with because they're always such very interesting people, and they can do so much with just their voice. But that story, like you just told me, that's the kind of thing that I love hearing, how these voices came about and their origin, because it's very interesting and unique to each particular character. And we're going to come back and hear about how Michael found the voice for several of the Smurfs that he did. All that and more with Michael Bell. Stand by.
Hi, this is Mary McDonald-Lewis, and I was the voice of Lady J on G.I. Joe.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner. I'm the voice of Flint on G.I. Joe. And listening to Geek to Me Radio is half the battle.
And we're back. If you missed that episode where we spoke with Bill Ratner, the voice of Flint, and Mary McDonald-Lewis, you can go check it out on YouTube or find it online where you get your podcast from iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or Podomatic. We were talking with Michael Bell, the voice of Duke, in that iconic G.I. Joe 80s cartoon series. And right before we went to break, we were talking to him about finding the voices, and he talked to us about getting the voices for several of the Smurf characters that he played.
Oh, yeah. And as I said, if you got a character, let's say you were doing a show, we're doing the Smurfs, and they said, okay, we want you to read for a character called Grouchy, which is very similar to Grumpy from Snow White, the doppelganger. So Grouchy, and he's Grouchy. So what does Grouchy sound like? And I thought, he could be angry, he's Grouchy, whatever. I thought, let me give him a gravel like Eugene Corlett, who was an actor under contract in the 30s and 40s. He's a short, fat guy, had a voice like this. Yeah, it was in every movie. but they needed the father was a rich father, and then the daughter was running away with a ghost or something. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do Eugene Paulette. So I did Groucho's Eugene Paulette. And then when they said, okay, since we have you for 3 voices, we'd like you to do Lazy. Okay, what's Lazy? And I knew at that time, a kid I grew up with, a girl I grew up with, she married a guy who I go back and visit the family. My friends, I go back and visit in New York, and he'd come in and she'd say, Stanley Mike's here, and he'd go, oh, hi, Beck. So, how are you? So, nice to see you tonight. And then it just sort of like goes off, and I thought, okay, I'm understand. That's going to be my voice for Lazy. Oh, yeah, okay, fine. And that's what I mean by plagiarize. And handy, I used a back voice. There's a voice back here because I had to sound totally different from the other two. So that's how you work. You look at the character and you say, okay, what physical thing can I give to this character, and at the same time in terms of phrasing and in terms of then a vocal thing, and then make it come alive. So, and we all do the same thing. All of us do that. So.
And so you mentioned on Smurfs, they said, well, we have you for 3 characters. Obviously, yeah. G.I. Joe and Transformers, you did multiple characters. Was that the norm back in that time where, hey, we're going to contract you and we want you for this many characters, and you had to come up with the voices? Or how did that play out? Obviously, Peter Cullen did Optimus Prime. Some of, like Dan Gilvezan did Bumblebee. How did they pick who would do what voices, and how many voices did they automatically assign you to do?
I'm never quite sure. I think they had in their mind, they knew who could possibly do a little bit more, so they threw voices at you. I got proud. And then they gave me Brainstorm. And then they gave me Brainstorm? My mind's gone. Yeah, and then they gave me Scrapper.
The Shrapnel from the Insecticons and Sideswipe, I believe?
Sideswipe, Blowtorch, and they just kept throwing things at me and thinking, how am I going to do this different? I'll have to give them either a slow sound, I'll have to do a back voice over here, something over here, make it a little bit different, give the southern kind of sound, possibly, in this area here. We can't all sound like this. It'd be like the whole show, there a bunch of guys sounding like this. I could never do what Peter did or what Frank did because they had different pipes.
Mm-hmm, right.
But I have to do whatever my pipes allowed me to do, and so they didn't kill myself. And then you don't do 7 characters in one show. Understand that you could only do 3 characters. So if one of your characters, let's say Prowl, wasn't in the show, they could use me for 3 other characters.
Oh, okay.
And it might be a beggar, or it might be some kid, or it might be somebody, oh, no, don't, help, whatever. As long as they got me, they could use me for 3 characters. So that was the old days. Nowadays, they have to pay you for that 3rd character. So they may not be so quick, or they may. I don't know. They just may do that.
Depending on the budget of the project, I suppose.
Yeah, and it's not as much money as it would if they had to pay an actor to come in. It's 10% of your first payment. So it's still cheaper for them to use an actor that can do 3 character voices. When we did Voltron with Pete Cullen and Jack Angel and Neil Ross and B.J. Wood, there were a lot of children in the original Japanese version because we didn't do it from scratch. We had to get the Japanese version. And there were a lot of little girls in it and little boys that were running and screaming through the whole thing. Well, we only had DJ. Everybody else were guys, and I had the lightest voice, so I ended up doing voices of little girls. Little boys. And then one day, I think it must have been about 3 or 4 years ago, sitting with my daughter, we were watching television, and I noticed on one of the channels as they were surfing, it said Voltron. I went, oh wow, I wonder if that's the old Voltron. And I put it on, and just happened to come on the scene, one of those crowd scenes, screaming scenes, and there was these little girls running around crying and yelling, looking for their parents. And the little girl going, help, somebody help me, one of those things. And my daughter turned around and looked at me, she said, is that you? And I said, do you recognize? She said, you're doing the voice of a little girl? And I said, yeah. She said, you're doing the voice of a little girl? I said, yeah, they paid for your college, so shut up.
That's right. She can't say anything about it if she's paying, this is paying her tuition at whatever college she went to. That's right.
They paid her tuition. NYU, absolutely. Doing voices of little girls. Yeah, that's what we did. It's now, of course, there's so many kids involved. There's so many stars involved. It's kind of hard to. Those are the golden days, at least for me, and I think for the guys that you would meet, you would talk to. it was a real golden era for us because we didn't have to deal with celebrity voices or stars, etc. When that started to happen, I began to say, well, this is the beginning of the end, because there'd be big names in, and I'll wind up doing the voice of the guard, which is fine. You still get paid for it, but
yeah, I do. It was exactly the words I would use as the golden age, and especially in the late 70s, early 80s was when all these cartoons really started to take hold. And we mentioned G.I. Joe and Transformers. You mentioned Voltron, and it was nice. I've seen now on they've done the brand new with DreamWorks. They did bring you back for a voice in the new one. I noticed you're voicing Quackerjack again in DuckTales after you did it in Darkwing Duck originally. So I think it's great that some of these studios and I guess some of the voice directors and casting people get it, and they're bringing people like you back to do these voices again. Not you weren't Lance in the new Voltron, but that they are paying homage to the people like you who laid the groundwork for all this stuff.
Sure, which is nice, but it's rare. I gotta say, I know that somebody said that, I don't know if it's true or not, but they bought 26 Rugrats. Paramount bought 26 Rugrats. And we're all kind of hoping that they'll bring us back the way Spielberg brought back Rob and Tress and all the others for Animaniacs. He brought them back.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing Animaniacs again, and you bring the same people back. I don't know if they're going to do that with us. Somebody said, are you going to be playing Chucky's dad again? And I said, I don't know. They'll probably get LeBron James. What do I know? I haven't got a clue. They're going to go for celebrity, or they're going to... I called one of the producers, Paul Germain, and I didn't call him. I emailed him because we occasionally email each other or Facebook each other. And I said, Paul, I certainly hope we consider getting us back again, because those of us that are above ground, bless Jack Riley's heart, he's not with us anymore, and a couple other guys. But there's, we're still here. The girls are still here. E.G. and Cat CC and Summer, Cree Summer, we're all here. So how about giving us a shot again? Our asses have dropped, but our voices are pretty much the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. As soon as you called me the other day, I emailed your publicist, and she passed my information along. And you called me, and as soon as I answered the phone, I was like, I know who this is. As soon as you said, hi, this is Michael Bell. And it's your voice is timeless.
I have to tell you what's really funny, which really made me laugh, was, did you see Community? Did your fans see Community?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So, of course, it's, G.I. Jeff, I think they call it. And he gets into a coma, and he goes to G.I. Joe land. So they were going to cast it. They were looking for the characters who sounded like original characters. So they thought nicely, and I'm pleased, to reach out to the original characters. But no, I'm in my 70s at that point. I think 76, 77, something like that. So they said, okay. They called my agent, and she said, okay, they want to know if you still sound like Duke. And I said, well, what do I do? And he said, well, they're going to call you. So when you get on the phone, let them know it's okay, and you can do it and do a line or two. And I said, okay, fine.
And we're going to come back with that story of him trolling the producers of Community right after this. Stand by.
La, 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 sing a happy song. La, 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 Smurf the whole day long. Smurf along with me.
Hey, hi, listeners. This is Greg Berger.
Meet Grimlock, Dinobot, leader from Transformers.
And guess what? You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back. Right before we went to break, we were talking with Michael Bell. He was telling us about when he got the call to do Community, and he decided to have a little fun with the producers.
So the phone rings, and I know it's the producer. And I take the phone and go, hello? And he says, yeah, can I speak to Michael Bell? I said, oh, sure. Grandpa? and I got on the phone and I went, hello? His voice goes, yeah, Michael Bell. I went, hey, Michael. And Michael Bell did the voice you do. I said, yeah, what do you want? Silence. I said, all right, guys. Knowing is half the battle. Yo, Joe, is that okay? He went, okay, good. Okay, we'll book the studio with your agent. Okay, thank you, Mike.
That's awesome. I know we like I mentioned earlier, we had Bill Ratner, and he said the same thing, that he got a call from his agent, Seth MacFarlane's people, wanted to know if the guy who voiced Flint was still alive, and he's like, yeah. And they had him on an episode of Family Guy on a very similar thing. I don't think he messed with Seth like you did with the producer of that one, which is hysterical.
I Family Guy. I did Family Guy with what's his name? who does the Simpsons. My mind is gone.
Oh, Matt Groening?
That does Bart.
Cartwright, Nancy Cartwright?
Probably Nancy, yeah. So Nancy and I we were on the show because they brought us on the show, and I did one of my characters, and everybody was fawning over us. We were so excited, and Seth said, "Oh my God, I grew up with these guys." And there was a whole big thing, whatever the hell it was. I think it was one of the Super Friends characters that I did, or Zan, I think Zan from the Wonder Twins or something. And he said, "Oh God, I'm such a fan." He was all excited, and I said, "Great, that means I'm going to do more of your shows." It felt like a boom. It was like, you could hear. I said, okay. That's not one show. Big deal.
But you've done, like you mentioned, there are so many characters. You voiced Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk. You got to voice Dr. Octopus, Centurions, Gargoyles, G.I. Joe Renegade. You came back and did Max Hauser. You're doing Star Wars Rebels. There's so many projects. Do you have, it's an unfair question, I guess, but out of all let's just keep it to voiceover, cartoons, animation. Do you have a favorite project that was either most rewarding for you personally to work on or just the most fun?
Well, all of them were fun to some degree. I mean, they were all fun. There's stories for all of them, but I think probably A Wish for Wings That Work as Opus for Berkeley Brackett.
From Doonesbury, that's right.
It's a gorgeous Christmas special. I don't know how many people are listening, but boy, I got to tell you, do yourself a favor. It's a great Christmas special. Berkeley Brackett's just brilliant, and Spielberg, as you know, he's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's done some stuff.
And the thing behind that was great fun because, again, it was an opportunity to play a character that had some heart. Mm-hmm. The same thing for Chucky's dad, Chaz. I don't know if you ever saw the Mother's Day special. It's a beautiful show and very, very warm and very, very real in its approach because little Chucky wants to know where his mother is because he's the only person with a mother in the show. Mm-hmm. And finally, it's the day when Chaz has to explain to him that his mother, that heaven took her. She's an angel now. And it's a beautifully written show. And I remember doing it by myself, and I'm working on it, and I'm doing the explanation, and we finish with this piece, and I look up, and everybody in the booth is crying. The director, and the casting director, and the producers, and the engineer, they're all seeing tears in their eyes. And they're, okay, good, it'll work. That one worked. And that's good because it's an opportunity to really work at something, to really reach down, to use your actor chops, as it were. Because most of the stuff you do is, a lot of it's pretty standard, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, especially with the games, a lot of screaming going on, a lot of yelling, and even with animation, there's a lot of getting shot, getting killed, working hard. So a little bit differently, get something else and some life to it. So those are the two, I think, Chucky and Opus for Wish for Wings at Work.
And I know I've seen other interviews with you where you've talked about the TV acting, the movie acting you've done, the live actual face on camera. You didn't find it as rewarding as voiceover just because it was a lack of characters. You felt you were kind of getting cast, but you've done so much extensive TV. Do you still feel that way to this day, that voiceover is a better avenue for you personally? You prefer the voiceover route?
I like the voiceover route if I get that opportunity because you can do more of it. You can work more because the idea is to work as much as you can. Unless you've got a role that is so solid on-camera role. Most of television, when I was doing television, was just reiteration. I mean, I was playing the same character in every show I did, except they changed the blood to prevent botulism. I was doing the same detective, the same FBI guy, or someone who was stealing a kid, or whatever it was. Other than Three's Company, I got to play a little bit, and that kind of stuff was fun. Had I gotten a sitcom, I would have been very satisfied. You guys probably wouldn't even know who I was because I probably wouldn't have done voiceover. Because a sitcom would have been so much fun to do, and it would have catapulted me into another sitcom, One Hopes, and then continue on. I would have had a career to some degree in sitcoms because that's what I would have loved to have done. But since that didn't happen, and since I wound up doing first couple of things I did, I think with Mel Blanc, and I said, well, I'm in love. This is great. Nobody cares what I look like. I wound up, I didn't have to run in the street and chase people with a gun and worry that my hair was flying up and I was going bald. I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. Just be great.
We're going to come back hearing more from Michael Bell, talking about his working with the great Mel Blanc. More. Stand by.
We've been waiting for you. Where the kisses are hers and his. Three's company too.
Thundercats, ho! Sword of Omens, come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. Hi, this is Larry Kennedy, the voice of Lion-O, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We're back. MarcusTheaters.com. If you haven't yet seen Brightburn from James Gunn, maybe you want to go see Avengers Endgame for a fourth or fifth time, or you haven't checked out Disney's Aladdin, you can experience it in Ultra Screen in their DLX format, Super Screen DLX, or IMAX at one of their many theaters. MarcusTheaters.com is the website. You can find the one closest to you. 11 different states that have Marcus Theaters. Great place to go see a movie between the top-notch concessions, the food and drink. You can make it a whole evening. You can go and have dinner at one of the restaurants there, grab a drink beforehand, go see your movie. John Wick Chapter 3 is in theaters, Parabellum. This is a great time to go see movies. The summer blockbuster season is upon us. Why wouldn't you want to see a movie in the best possible environment? Getting ready to go see Godzilla King of the Monsters coming out? Get your tickets now. MarcusTheaters.com is that website. They're $5 movie Tuesdays. Upgrade for just $1 to see it in real 3D. Rocket Man sweepstakes. You can go to the website to enter some of those sweepstakes and giveaways they have. MarcusTheaters.com is that website. Very glad to have them on as one of the sponsors for Geek to Me Radio. Before we went to break, we're talking with Michael Bell this whole hour, and he mentioned a little bit about working with Mel Blanc. Cutting your teeth under someone like Mel Blanc, who obviously, when the word legend is used, he's one of the legends in voiceover. That's got to be an amazing, amazing time to work under someone like him.
I have worked so hard to no avail trying to get him a SAG Award and Academy Award. At this point, just as an honor, to honor Mel Blanc, they just pushed up. They're not going to do it. Not going to do it. I mean, this guy is a classic. I mean, who doesn't remember Bugs Bunny and all those marvelous characters and Daffy Duck, for God's sakes? And I mean, Mel Blanc was the voice. Long before anybody came along, it was Mel Blanc. And I said, he deserves an honor. He deserves to be honored at the awards. I'd push for that like crazy, but nothing has ever happened.
When you teach voiceover, do you... Some people, I would think, a lot of people I know just feel like voiceover is just, if you can do an impression, you can do a funny voice, and there's so much more to it. You mentioned the acting element of it. Certainly, that's one of the biggest things. When you teach, though, is there a certain something you can see in someone, whether or not they have it? Is there a certain something you can hear in their voice? You can tell whether a person's cut out for it or not a couple sessions in?
Yeah, you generally can tell. When somebody there's a nugget of something, you just want to, it's kind of like a plant that needs water. You just say, okay, you can see it there. This one's going to struggle out. This one's going to reach for the sun. This one has something going. This person, this girl, this boy, this man, this woman has something going for them. They have a little something that they're doing that makes you believe that if they really nurture that, they can make it work. Some people just don't have it. Some people just don't have the clarity. When I hear a read and it's muffled, then I say, let's try it again with clarity. And once again it's muffled, and I say, let's just try it again. And once again it's muffled, and I go, okay, we have a problem. You have to work on your diction. You have to learn to over-articulate. And then I can bring you back from the over-articulation because it's running together. Or it's a California sound where somebody says, you better go to the store now. I think you better go with it. And I say, I don't hear that last word. That's not working. And then somebody comes up and they read for me and they are right on the mark. And I go, boy, I can get you there now. I know where to get you. But I'm never going to say no to anybody. I'm not going to say you can't do it because I don't know when something's going to blossom.
Right.
I just never know. I mean, I had an Academy Award winner come to me, and a woman, and she said, I really want to do this stuff. I love voiceover, but I just never studied at the handle on it. So I put it in my booth, and she couldn't get it. I said, it's a witch. Come on, it's a witch. You played witches, yeah, but give me some time. And I said, you don't have the time when you audition. It's got to be. I don't care if you're doing a witch, or if you're doing Tallulah Bankhead type witch, or a Betty Davis type witch, just give me that quality right off the bat, and we'll work from there so that you can learn to do it immediately. You have to make a choice immediately and dive into it. That's why I give out a list of very well-known actors or unknown actors that are just great character actors. I give the women a list and I give the men a list. I said, go to YouTube. You get something I didn't have. I had to go to the movies for a whole lifetime to get these characters. You now can go and immediately see, what does Sterling Holloway sound like? He does Winnie the Pooh. You know, he's got that thing there. I said, you go there. Just do it. You may never get a chance, but at least you're stretching and you're learning. And so that's how I, get my students on board. Listen, I worked on the show, and the director will go unnamed, and with a well-known actor, and they got him because of his name, and it's a big room, and we're working opposite each other, and he's on his script. And I see every time he turns the page, he's dropping the page on the floor. I'm going to have to go back. You can't do that. But nobody's saying anything. And I want to help, but I'm another actor. I can't say anything in front of the director.
Right.
And then he turns around to the other actors. He's delivering his line as you would do on camera. You can't do that because you're on mic.
Right.
So he'd be off mic. He'd say, all right, here's what it's going, and then he's going back. And I'm thinking, oh, God, this poor guy. So we take a break for lunch. A 5 to 10, whatever, 10-minute break, wasn't lunch break, 10-minute break. So in the John, I'm in the John. He's standing in the urinal, and I'm standing in another urinal next to him because we're all full up. At which point, he suddenly goes, God, I'm dying out there. Shit, I am dying. And I turn around and said, I'd be glad to help you, but you can't say anything. He said, what? Because he sees what I'm doing. I said, first of all, the script is in front of you on the music stand. Keep it open, page 1 and page 2 open at all times. And then slowly turn to page 3 and page 4. So you always know what's coming up the top of the next page because your lines may continue. And you don't want to suddenly turn the page and then all of a sudden there's your line and you've broken up your sentence. Yeah, okay. I say never look away from that microphone. Ever. That microphone, you don't look at the microphone, look at your script. Always, that's where your other character is. Your character is right in front of you, not to the side of you, not in front of you, right there by that music stand is. That's the script. You're looking at the script. That's your character. And you go, okay. And you can't take the time you're taking. If you have a line that says, excuse me, miss, I notice you're having trouble. You can't go, excuse me, miss, I notice you're having trouble. I said, nothing's happening. I said, this is a cartoon. You got to get it out. Take your beats, but take a beat up. When you see a beat, take a beat up. You go, great. And he said, what else? I said, turn back to the urinal. I said, you're peeing in my shoe. You know, okay. And we went back, and sure enough, he was fine, and the director went, wow, great, that was good, that was really good. And he looks up over his page, and he waits and went, okay, so that was the director's job. That wasn't my job.
Right.
Well, that's what the director should have told him. And this is a very popular director. And I went, all right, I'm not going to say anything unless he asked me. He did, crying in front of me. He asked me. Those are the things that, I basically would teach the basics, and then we go into character.
And Michael, your website, we should mention too, michaelbellvoices.com, and you're also on Twitter at michaelbellvo. Is there any other social media that people should...
Yes, one other thing. Anybody that wants to learn just the basics, go to YouTube and type in Michael Bell Voice Animation Class. It's free. I posted it. My wonderful partner, Lori Tritel, passed away. We were going to sell these, as it were. We sold a few, and then we were going to really promote them. She did an hour of commercial, teaching commercial voiceover. She was really magic. And I teach an hour of voice animation. And you see me teaching 5 students who are very talented youngsters, not kids. I'm talking about in their middle 20s, early 30s. And they're really talented and they work, but they've never done voiceover. So I said, did you want to do this? And he said, yeah. So I hired a studio. I got the whole thing and got the camera guys in, did a video. And unfortunately, Lori passed away, and I didn't want to do the business side of it. I said, okay, I'm just going to post it on YouTube, let people have it for free. So it's Michael Bell's Voice Animation Class, and it gives you a good, solid hour of what is needed in terms of you going out in front of a mic and developing a character.
And I just have 2 last questions before I let you go.
Go to it.
The first question, what is the most impressive or odd thing that someone has had you sign at a convention before? We're going to get to these answers right after this in our last segment. Stand by.
This is Sam Jones Flash Gordon, and you are listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Before we went to break, we asked Michael Bell a couple last questions. What was the most interesting thing he's had someone sign for him or asked him to sign at a convention?
I don't think we can do that even on radio.
It's that, is it? We're going that route?
We're going that route, yeah. I said, this is really difficult. I said, you might have to get excited because I'm losing my pen here. It was really, I think having somebody's leg or something real close to an area I was uncomfortable with because I didn't know where they've been.
Right.
But, and a lot of people come up with tattoos of Raziel, the character I did in my video game, the video game. They came up with so weird and Soul Weaver. They come up and they're crazy at Raziel, which is good. But they have tattoos of him on their back and their butts and the other parts. Yeah.
That is definitely an interesting one. And my last question, I was a huge Darkwing Duck fan. I love that cartoon. You voiced Quacker Jack, who sadly never got his own action figure. They discontinued that line.
No, I've got one. I've got another action figure. I've got the original prototype.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I do. I bought it. I said, this guy came in and I said, Did you do this? I did the original character, but of course you have to do a prototype, and it's about maybe a foot and a half, about a foot. It's about a foot, and the whole thing is beautifully carved and painted. And I said, I want it, so I bought it from him. Yeah,
wow!
I wish he had. Yeah, I that's like that. Playtime.
And now they've talked about doing a Darkwing Duck spin-off with the success of the DuckTales reboot. Have you heard anything? I can only assume they would have to bring you back, as they've already done in DuckTales for Quacker Jack. They'd have to bring you back for Darkwing Duck. Have you heard anything? Can you discuss anything like that?
I have not heard a word. These things pop up out of nowhere, and I get a call from the agent. I know they did a list of Voltron for Voltron. They did a list of Lance and some of the other characters. They may do a list for some of the new stuff. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Sometimes I find that that they have another actor. If they do bring it back, they may have another actor play him. I've had actors that have played my characters. I say my characters as if I own them, but the characters I created, vocally created, they have them without calling me first and saying, hey, would you come in and read for this or even audition for it? They just go ahead and hire somebody else. So I don't know. They may be playing it. Could hardly tell. No,
that's a shame. I'll have to give Disney a call and make sure they have you on the slate for that.
And I'm sure they're going to listen to you.
I've got pull, Michael. You don't know.
Yeah. I know. Okay, good. I'm told.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I can't wait to meet you in person. I'm probably going to give you writer's cramp from all the things I have for you to sign when I meet you there at Richmond.
Okay. That's cool. Good.
And once again, the website is michaelbellvoices.com. There's links there to the YouTube and the Twitter and all the other social media. And Twitter, it's at MichaelBellVO. Michael, thanks very much for your time. It's been, like I said, an absolute delight to speak with you. I appreciate it greatly.
And also, guys, if you get a chance, I'm now just signed up with Cameo. So I'm doing that thing.
Oh, perfect, yes.
Hey, everybody, and blah, blah, blah. It's Michael Bell, and send me your pension. So.
Perfect. Michael Bell, thanks very much for your time today. It's been a blast.
Take care. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this interview. Catch us at GalaxyCon Richmond next weekend and Superman Celebration the weekend after that. Until next week, my friends.
That's a show. This is Geek to Me Radio.
Thank you, Teletran 1. Good night.